All right, what's up? Welcome back to another Q&A. I'm Sandy, one of the members of Dealing the Cards, obviously. We like to do these Q&As. They're really, really fun. We've got a bunch of great questions to get into today. If you ever want to ask a question, you're watching this, just feel free to comment below this or tag us on Twitter or something like that. That's where we compile most of these questions from Twitter and our YouTube comments. But we love answering your questions. We love getting a chance to interact with you guys directly. So let's just get right into this. A bunch of good questions, like I said before. Here's a great one to start with. How many games under 500 would we need to be for Mo to sell at the deadline? So there's a couple things to break down with this. First off, I don't think it's about being under 500. I think it's about how far they are back in the playoff race. So the trade deadline, always late July. Usually there's roughly 60 games to play in the season at that point when the deadline happens. So you can make up ground, but if you're more than 5 or 6 games back, you're probably out of it, right? So I think if the Cardinals were 5 games back of the third wildcard spot, you probably would see them sell. But that's the next thing here. So what does sell actually mean? I don't know if the Cardinals will be a clear-cut buyer or seller at all this deadline. I can't really see them like buying in the traditional sense where you go out and really augment your roster. But I can't see them ripping the team apart and doing some sort of fire sale because there really aren't a lot of assets to sell on this team. A seller for the Cardinals, a seller's deadline for the Cardinals would look like them moving on from Helsley, probably would trade Steven Matz. Maybe there's a market for Miles Mikolas. Probably will be a market for Eric Fetty, but I don't see them really trading anybody else. The other guys on expiring deals have little to no value for the Cardinals. And I don't expect to see them move a Sonny Gray or a Wilson Contreras or something like that. They could sell Arenado, but he's played pretty poorly over the last month. Offensively, he's come back down to earth after a nice April. I don't even know what kind of value he'd carry. I don't know how they'd make that deal happen right now. If it wasn't going to happen this offseason, I don't know if it happens now. But yeah, so I think, again, if the Cardinals are under 500, they probably are going to sell, but selling is going to look very conservative. It's going to look a lot like the 2023 trade deadline where you get rid of guys on expiring contracts. I can't really see a scenario where they do more than they did last year where they added Eric Fetty. I don't see them doing any more than that. So, yeah, maybe they get creative. And that's kind of a third outside the box option where they do a little bit of everything. Maybe move Ryan Helsley but acquire an interesting bat. I don't know how likely that is, but we'll see. All right. Here we go. Next question. How do you see the pitching improving? It's been a weak point lately. Yes, it has been a weak point. We've talked about the struggles of this rotation over the last few weeks. The bullpen has really struggled. And to be completely honest, I don't know. One big thing that I don't know if it's been mentioned enough is the impact of the defense. The defense has regressed all around the diamond. Part of that is having Nolan Gorman in the lineup more often. They were without Brendan Donovan for a few days just now. I don't know. It's just been really bad. The defense has been a lot worse. A couple of key errors have really cost the Cardinals in recent weeks. I know Nolan Gorman's made a few. They've been playing Alec Burleson in the outfield more often. But the problem is, as the offense has slipped, they've had to do a little bit more here in terms of throwing guys in there to try to stimulate this offense. And it's resulted in less ideal defensive alignments. For example, Alec Burleson playing the outfield or Nolan Gorman getting in there more often. And so that's really, really hurt the pitching. The other thing is too, like some of these guys, I don't really know what you do with a Palante. He had another tough start today or yesterday if you're seeing this on the 15th. I think it'll be posted tonight on the 14th. But he had another tough outing today where he ended up surrendering 4 runs. He's been pretty bad lately. Fetty hasn't been great, even though the numbers look okay. Sonny Gray had a really bad outing. I don't know. Pretty much everyone's been bad over the last week and change. I know Libby's starting to deal with some fatigue issues, but this is what the Cardinals have. So if the pitching improves, it's because these guys get their job done. There are reinforcements. Quinn Mathews could be ready at some point. Michael McGreevy probably is ready now, but they haven't made space for him. But no, I don't see them making a move. I don't see them DFAing anybody like Mikolas. I don't see them optioning Palante, even though they could, and they could bring up McGreevy. I think they do want to ride with Palante for a while because he showed last year that he is capable of being a good starter. But I guess, as for the bullpen, it's got to shuffle things around. I'm excited to see they've brought up Granillo. He was excellent earlier this year. We'll see what he can get done. I want to see them give more opportunities to guys like Riley O'Brien, Matt Savanson. I know Savanson has been solid in limited opportunities. We'll see what he does. I think it's time to have a conversation about Ryan Helsley as the team's primary closer. I'd be interested in some sort of closer by committee, play matchups, see what you can do. Let Marmol really manage instead of just pushing a button when the Cardinals are ahead in the ninth, or not pushing the button when they're not. Let him see what he can do with the bullpen to get the best out of it. But yeah, I don't know. So, all right, next question here. This is more of a general baseball question. Why is a different ball used for MLB and AAA than the one used for AA and lower? I've seen it mentioned a couple times now with Roby and Mathews that the MLB ball is throwing their command off, and it takes some getting used to. Yeah, it is a little strange, isn't it? I've always thought that. I actually don't totally know. It is odd. I think the ball in college is different as well. It could be something to help pitching at the lower levels. I don't really know. I think it's just that it's the way it is, to be completely honest. I mean, maybe a cursory search, but I honestly have no idea. Yeah. I'm not sure why they would set things up that way. I think it's largely a strange little quirk of baseball. I know, like, in youth leagues, you use a different ball for safety considerations and stuff. Like, you don't want to have kids just rocketing something back. But yeah, that's a little strange to me. I honestly have no idea. That's one that I think is probably a better question for a Kareem. You probably know more than I would. It's possible it has some sort of impact on development. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it would generally be a negative thing, if you got guys coming up. Same goes for college. I know it's been a problem for some pitchers who come over from MPB where they use a different ball as well. I don't know. Yeah, it's strange to me. Okay. Who do you think has the better chance at reaching their potential at this point in time? Walker or Gorman? All right. Man, this is such a tough question. I feel like I've flipped back and forth on this so many times. And it really does depend for me, like where I'm leaning on who's playing better, which isn't totally fair, right? It also depends how you define their potential. I think Gorman's potential is like a very good hitter, like a great 5-6 hitter, guy with some power, maybe cleanup guy, but I don't see Gorman as like a 40 homer power guy. I don't see Gorman as an MVP candidate or anything like that. But he's a guy that could play solid defense at second base and could be a 120, 125 WRC plus guy. That's who he was in 2023 for most of the season. And it was awesome. It really did feel like he was stepping into his own, figuring out who he was as a hitter. And that's the type of guy that lengthens your lineup a lot. That's very valuable. Walker's potential is still sky high. The talent is insane. The exit velocity is unbelievable. And it looks like he's actually figured out how to play some modicum of defense in the outfield. Might even be close to a mediocre or slightly above average defender at some point. He's athletic. He runs pretty well. Walker's the type of guy that you dream on. I don't know what his potential is now. It's just hard to answer this question because their potential when they came up is probably different than their potential now. I probably would lean Walker because his track record of struggles, in my opinion, is shorter than Gorman's, although maybe it's not. It is hard to tell. They were both really bad last year. They were both really good in 2023. They've both been mediocre to bad this year. It felt like Walker was starting to get it together before he got sent down. Feels like Gorman's starting to get it together now. Walker got not sent down, before he went down with injury. It feels like Gorman's starting to put it together now, though. Big home run today. The Cardinals have been trusting him a little more. I think I would still lean Walker. He's the younger player, shorter track record, as I said before, but we'll see. But I guess if I was a betting man, which I'm not, although sometimes I am, I would lean Walker. All right, before we get to these next few questions, I'd just like to say something about one of our sponsors, 314 Sports Cards. They're located at 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet, Missouri. They're open 10 to 6 Monday through Friday and 10 to 4 on Saturday and Sunday. They buy, sell, and trade everything from sports cards to Pokemon cards. Any trading stuff you're looking for, they probably have it. And they've got the newest selection of packs, boxes, and single cards. Whether you're looking for local players or stars from around the league, 314 has it. I've said it many a time on here, but Andrew has developed an addiction for this kind of thing. We went to the game the other day, and I actually picked him up from 3-on-4 where he was furiously ripping packs. It really is a ton of fun. He loves to open them on stream as well. So go check him out. Tell Devin we sent you in. He's awesome. He's the guy that runs the place. He's an incredible guy. It's just a great place to be. Lots of good ball knowers in there too. So really fun time. All right, back to our next question here. Does anyone on this team actually have trade value outside of Donovan and Herrera? Yes, absolutely. Right? Like Matthew Liberatore has trade value. Andre Palante has trade value. It's also hard to quantify what you mean by like trade value. So I would argue most of the team has trade value, right? If you mean like significant trade value, sure. The guys with that are probably basically, as long as you're creating surplus value, you have trade value. That's the way I see it. And that's the way something like a BTV trade evaluator generates that number. So it's basically how much value are you capable of producing and what are you being paid? So even if Arenado was better than he's been lately, he still wouldn't have like a lot of trade value per se because he's being paid so heavily, right? Like Sonny Gray is due to make $35 million next year. So to be a $35 million starter, he has to be one of the best starters in the league. Sonny Gray is a great pitcher. But yeah, he's probably not a top 5 pitcher in the National League. He's going to be paid like it next year because of the structure of the contract and the way it's been backloaded. So it's not like the Cardinals valued him as a $35 million a year pitcher, but that's what he's paid next year. I don't think he has trade value or much trade value moving forward because I don't know who wants to take on that kind of money. But I think Steven Matz has real trade value for this deadline. As bad as Ryan Helsley's been this year and as bad as the peripherals look, like there is still trade value there. He's still a reliever with elite stuff. He's more than capable of figuring it out. He's the type of arm that's going to be very successful. And there are other guys like that in the system as well. Even some of the younger pitching, the younger relievers, like those guys have a lot of value. I think Liberatore has value. I think teams are interested in a big lefty capable of throwing 95, 96 miles an hour in Libby. I think teams are interested in a Palante. He's a guy with multiple intriguing pitches. He's been very solid over the last 2 years. Yeah, he's had some rocky starts lately, but he's a good player. Obviously, Herrera and Donovan are very valuable. But I think Nootbaar is a very valuable guy. We've seen his name come up a number of times. Yeah, he's in a slump right now, but I don't think that affects his overall value. I still think the Cardinals would be hesitant to trade a Jordan Walker. I think Victor Scott has a ton of value. He's an up-and-coming player who's shown actual offensive value this year, and he's a phenomenal defender. Granted, the offense has ticked off in recent weeks, but he runs well. He's capable of getting on base. He does a lot of damage once he's on the base paths. And it looks like there's more pop in that bat than people were ready for. And Mason Wynn, I don't know how Wynn isn't included in this. Wynn arguably has more value than anybody. He's still being paid league minimum. He's only in his second full season, and he's a 4 to 4.5 WAR player already. He's a Gold Glove caliber defender who is, at this point, a substantially above league average bat. He's capable of being a 115, 120 WRC plus guy. I don't know where he'll finish the year. He finished slightly above last year, but so far this year, he's been excellent. Wynn does a lot of things right. He's going to hit for a high average. He's capable of getting on base. He runs well. He's, as I said before, a fantastic defender. So yeah, there are a lot of guys on this team with trade value. I know it's been a tough stretch. They've lost 6 straight, and we'll see what they're looking like today. Leahy almost came in and blew it. It looks like the Brewers have another chance to score here in the bottom of the 7th. But yeah, there is trade value on this team. Okay, next question here. If the Cards are 2 to 3.5 games out of the wild card at the deadline, and all of our trade pieces are similar in value to where they are now, are you selling, buying, or letting it ride? Okay, I think this is similar to a question we've already answered on this, but we'll run with this. So where are the pieces now? I think Matz has real value. I think Helsley has real value. I think personally, I think they should sell. I don't think they will, though. I think it's hard for the Cardinals to sell. The Cardinals want to be in playoff contention. They want to try to win. They want to tell fans that they want to win. They want people to come to the ballpark thinking this team might be playing in October. And they really want to host a home playoff game. You know? Yeah, it's hard to get there. The Cardinals have operated under the whole get to October and see what happens way of thinking. And that's worked for teams in the past. I know Josh has argued that those teams have something in common, the way they're built. They have legitimate pitching that's capable in October. Even like the 2011 Cardinals, for example, had a Chris Carpenter. They were able to just ride. Like you got to have a stopper type thing. But I don't know. Teams have made runs that are random before, and the Cardinals seem to be part of that. I tend to lean that way more than a guy like Josh does. So I'd be intrigued by the let it ride option, but I think the Cardinals should sell if that's the case, although that is really close. And that's the type of thing that, like, if the Cardinals are 2 games out of it at the deadline and then they go and they win their next 2 games, and we're sitting there on August 2nd and the Cardinals are tied for the 3rd wildcard spot, we're like, oh, it was a great decision to not sell. If they go and they lose their next 2 games and all of a sudden they're 4 games out, that's the type of thing that just, the situation's so fluid. It changes so quickly. It is really hard to know. It's perfectly valid for them to believe they're in contention if that's the case, because they are. The Cardinals were in contention last year at the trade deadline. Yeah, they fell apart in August and really didn't get it going in September either. But at the deadline, they were in contention. And the Eric Fedde deal looked like a really good deal at the time. And I think they did get good value. I'm not sure how much Tommy Edman would have gotten them in the offseason. Didn't feel like he was going to play for the Cardinals at all. So I don't know. What do I think they actually, what would I do? I guess I would probably half sell. I'd soft sell. I'd move Ryan Helsley. I don't even know how much worse you get by moving a Ryan Helsley. He hasn't been a lockdown closer this year for you. I'd consider moving a Steven Matz. You have intriguing young options in the bullpen. And as great as Matz has been, there are other guys that can fill in to some extent. I might even see if there's a market for a guy like Eric Fedde, one of your starters. And maybe you can half buy too, right? Like, there are going to be teams, the Brewers aren't going to sell, but there are going to be guys like Jose Quintana available with maybe less upside than an Eric Fedde. At least last year, Eric Fedde. Eric Fedde this year has a serious walk issue. But there are going to be guys available that you can acquire cheap just to get some innings. So, and maybe the Cardinals can go get an actual starter and trade away their guys who need innings, guy with control. Like, it's possible they swing a deal like that too, and they get really creative. So that's what they should do. All right, right here. Last question of the day. Cardinals are 4-8 in their last 12 games, including a 6-game loser, which started when Jaywalk got hurt. Coincidence or correlation? Well, it's tough because, like, Jordan Walker before the injury, it felt like, 1, he was really ramping up. It felt like he was getting better. And 2, it felt to me like Jordan Walker he had some clutch factor that, like, I don't know, the game kept finding him. And honestly, he did a lot of great things. He had some big hits. Like, it started in the first game of the Tigers series in like mid-May. We had that double off the wall. And it felt like after that, he actually turned into like a legit major league hitter for like 3 weeks. And he had some big hits that, the Cardinals didn't win all those games, but Jordan Walker came up clutch a few times, drove in some big runs. I'm going to say coincidence though here. Like, the only reason to be a correlation is just because once you lose Walker, like the depth situation gets really bad. We saw Ryan Vilade take a lot of plate appearances, and those were pretty much just getting flushed down the toilet. I'm sorry to Ryan, but he just is not the best option for the Cardinals. And we saw the depth thing, like depth-wise, they were just tanked. They had to make some really weird decisions, and like Pozo was the first guy off the bench, the first right-handed bat off the bench. So I don't know. Also, Jordan Walker, he hasn't done it, but he is capable of producing real power, and that's a huge fault of this Cardinals team. So if you think about that as well, yeah, maybe there is a little bit of correlation. And defensively, like, Walker's been pretty good. Having Alec Burleson out there has been tough for them. He's been really bad defensively. He's made, he's not making errors because scores are so generous these days, especially to outfielders. But Alec Burleson has, extended hits. He's made singles into doubles. He's made doubles into triples. So it's a little bit of everything. I'm going to say for the most part, though, coincidence with maybe a little bit of correlation, mostly coincidence. All right. Well, that's all for today. Thank you again for listening. And if you have any questions, just throw them down below. We love doing these Q&As. I really like hopping on here and just, talking for 20 minutes. But thanks for listening. And again, if you have any questions, let us know. Go Cards, and hope they beat the Brewers later today.